Standards drift is the difference between your published standards or policies and the actual state and configurations within your systems, applications, and network. In practical terms, drift from your published standards represents an increase in cyber risk. Undetected drift from standards within critical controls can lead to negative audit findings, or worse yet, a material incident. Design patterns, a term borrowed from software engineering, can be used by information security organizations to help normalize how organizations classify their approaches to detect standards drift across any type of control. The 7 design patterns for standards drift, loosely organized from most automated to most manual, are as follows: secure by default, self-healing, automated detection, compiled analysis, raw data correlation, manual review, and managed by exception. This classification comes from a 2020 blog post on the opinionated security blog and is being used with permission of the author, now associated with Governisto. The link to the original post is in the description. Secure by default is the most automated and mature design pattern because the security governance for a given control or set of controls, or perhaps even a system, has been thought through and designed in a way that the governance guardrails never allow the user to drift from standards. A good metaphor for this design pattern might be an ATM machine. The system has enough guardrails that any given user can perform many necessary activities, but none of those activities are unsafe. The ATM always remains in policy, and the bank only has a low, fixed amount of risk anytime the ATM is used. If the system has guardrails that prevent the system from ever getting out of policy, you likely are using this design pattern. Examples of this design pattern might include use of Windows Group Policy Objects or AWS landing zones. Self-healing is a design pattern in which both the detection of standards drift and the enforcement needed to bring the drift back into policy are performed in an automated way. If a user gets outside of a policy, they will be gently brought back into policy. The difference between this design pattern and secure by default is that drift can occur with this design pattern, and that drift may not be enforced or otherwise deterred in real time. Examples of this design pattern might include antivirus or data loss prevention controls. Automated detection is a very common design pattern in which the detection of standards drift is performed in an automated and high-fidelity manner. If there is an alert, some control or activity is out of policy. The remediation for the identified standards drift will have to be completed in some manual way. Examples of this design pattern might include alerts when new members are added to an administrator group, continuous monitoring, or automated pen testing controls. Compiled analysis is a design pattern that finds standards drift through metrics and measures. The collection methodology for detecting standards drift in any given control might range from fully automated collection or fully manual, depending on the control and underlying systems involved. This design pattern is the first in which detection may not be in real time and might only be detected with the frequency that the metric is collected: daily, weekly, monthly, quarterly. Metrics designed to detect drift are the most common example of this design pattern. Raw data correlation is a design pattern in which a manual search of low-fidelity, raw data combined with human analysis is required to detect standards drift. Usually, the data to be analyzed has been moved off the source system and requires manual analysis of data, alerts, or emails to find. Standards drift is only detected with the frequency that the raw data is manually searched. Manual log searches or manual threat hunts are examples of this design pattern. Manual review is another common design pattern in which system data or configurations are reviewed 100% manually. This review normally happens on a single system or less frequently with remote access tools across a number of systems in a manual way and doesn't involve interpretation of raw data to find drift. This can include controls such as manual configuration reviews, group reviews of administrator credentials, or manual pen tests. Managed by exception is the catch-all design pattern when little or no ongoing effort is invested in identifying standards drift. Standards drift is only really detected as part of audit findings, reported by users, or as a root cause in incidents. This design pattern is in use when little or no ongoing internal effort is expended to identify drift, and some external event or activity alerts the organization to a drift in standards. The external event might be accidental discovery, an audit finding, or even a security incident. So, as part of maturing controls governance, you now have a normalized set of design patterns for controls in your controls landscape, and a normalized measure of drift detection to compare against your risk appetite. Please visit our website at governisto.com for more information, or to sign up to our weekly newsletter, or, if you prefer, follow Governisto on LinkedIn, YouTube, X, and Instagram.